Into the Badlands is a poor man's Game of Thrones. So this show, let me just start off by saying I really enjoyed the series. I think it's a very solid 3 seasons. I think if they took probably, and this is spoilers for the whole series, I binge watched it in like 5 days. I highly recommend if you don't have something to watch to watch this. It's a really fascinating show. I feel like they could have. I really like the combat, especially in the first season, and I guess we'll go kind of linear here. In the first season, I'm very much a fan of it. Probably give it like an 8 out of 10, maybe like an 82 out of 100 or something like that. Like I'm a really big fan of the first season. I honestly think the best fight in the whole series happens in the first episode. It's just the very first fight where he's against the nomads. I think that encapsulates what the show does best, which is these like hand-to-hand style fights that have kind of this subtle undertone to it, showing Sunny just kicking ass and like just destroying people. That's probably one of the better fights in the whole show. I also like, and again, spoilers for the whole series. I'm going to be talking about seasons 1, 2, and 3 very briefly. I'm not going to try to make this that long, but I also like the MK's fight against Tilda, the widow, and Chow, or the Chow's brother. I like that fight a lot. At the very end, that has a lot of like emotional kind of stakes in it too, because you've had these people where kind of love-hate relationships with each other at different times, and you have a 3 versus 1, and MK just kills it, and then he dies. So, but yeah, I guess overall we should probably start with I think season 1 does the political kind of themes the best. It has, the different machinations of, you have the Baron and the relationship of the regions with Sunny, and then you have the different barons trying to vie for power, and you have the widow kind of taking hold. And usually I feel, especially with how they did it, usually I feel like it's pretty rushed in a lot of other series that kind of have these like big action events early on, especially it was only 6 episodes. But for some reason, I think they did it really well, where the show, the first season never felt rushed. There were only 40-minute episodes, 6 episodes for the first season. But it never felt rushed to me in that first season with how the stakes were being escalated. Even like in the second episode, I think, you have Quinn going and taking the Baron's oil fields like immediately, so that, or not immediately, but towards the end of that episode, I believe. And so that kind of just, usually that would make you feel like it's a bit tough, but yeah. Ryder in the first season I dislike. In the second season, Ryder and Baji are my only two enjoyments in that second season. The rest of it was kind of But with the first season, how they ended too, where it's just everything, like he almost had, like Sunny almost wins, like he almost does everything he wanted. His family, he almost took MK with him, he almost gets out, and then it's just like heartbreaking at the end, where it's like, actually no. That is actually another good fight, is the two fights where, the one where Sunny in episode 3 or 4, I think, is going to Vale after she tells him she's pregnant, and then he backs up, and the widow's people are around them, and they do that sword fight. That's a really awesome fight. And then the final fight of season 6, where the magic is introduced, that's also or the final fight of season 1 in episode 6 is a really solid one too, where they capture MK, and so just everything crumbles, and you have the River King kind of selling Sunny because he broke his word, which is kind of another important thing in the series, because in season 3 the River King comes back. But yeah, so I think season 1 is a very solid season. I think it does everything well that the show set out to do. It has the political drama and intrigue. It has the lore that just gets you hooked, and like you keep going. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like another Game of Thrones type show. But I actually preferred. I really enjoyed Game of Thrones. Is probably my all-time favorite series, even with how it ended. But season 1 of this show, if the rest of the show was like season 1 of this show, I think it could have topped that. Like, I really do. Then we get into season 2, and my favorite part about season 2 is two things. One is Baji. and Ryder. I really didn't like Ryder that much in the first season. Like he's all right, and there's a lot of drama, I guess, with his mom, and you feel for him a lot in the first season, and what he's gone through and what he's going through, and he's like a tortured soul. And then in the second season, I really enjoyed where they took that character, but then they just kind of kill him off. And to be fair, I didn't understand it at the time, but I understood why it was necessary to kill him off. But then it doesn't make sense with his mom going to try to kill Quinn, and then they just end up like making out and having sex, and then but then she's like, "Oh, I'm a captive, and you're holding me prisoner," and all that. Like it, I don't understand. I don't like Lydia's character throughout the whole series. I just don't like it. Even the widow, I don't like the widow's character until like the later half of season 3. I just think the actor kind of does like a poor job in portraying it, but maybe that's what it was going for. But yeah. So in season 2, don't have that much to say except for my favorite parts being kind of Baji and Ryder in the beginning, and Quinn. Quinn was actually really like it was really cool. Quinn is probably in season 1 is insane. Like he's amazing. Like he always seems to know what's happening before it happens, and like I don't know. He's really good. And at the end in episode 6 where he takes MK and like he knows people are plotting to kill him, and so he takes MK to fight off the plotters, and I'm like, Ryder's plan would have worked if it wasn't for like him bringing MK and like figuring it out and all that. And even if the magic people weren't there, like his plan might have worked. Probably not, but it might have. But yeah. So Quinn is a really cool character in both the seasons. And the final, what I will say about season 2 is the final fight with him and Sonny is pretty insane. Like he's like a Joker-esque type character, and Sonny's basically Batman, I guess, where he's like kind of this like anti-hero-ish vigilante. He's going and trying to save his family, and then Quinn is like the way he gets up and like holds the knife to Vale's throat is just like, and he has the blood on his teeth, and it's like so like Joker-esque. And even when he gets stabbed in the moonlight, is like shining. Yeah, it's really insane. But but then Vale's death was pretty crazy. I mean, it was kind of expected, I guess, because like the whole season they were kind of building towards it, so it kind of made sense. I obviously knew Sonny wasn't gonna die, and I don't think this show has the heart to kill a baby, so I kind of figured it would be Vale. But yeah, so that's all I'll say about season 2. It was interesting seeing them on the Outlands. Moon, Nathaniel Moon. I really liked his character in season 2, even though it was just for episode, and then in season 3 he kills it too. So going to season 3, it's real. I'm like kind of conflicted about season 3. So in season 2, it definitely felt like kind of a RPG D&D type game. Like they were just kind of going around, and like even the fighting was like the effects on the fighting was just so wonky. Like I didn't get it. In season 3, we finally have like the Azra kind of prophecy line fulfilled, where you have Pilgrim come in the end of episode 1, episode 1 and end of episode 2. He does his fight with Castor and Nyx, going and killing the scouting troop. But yeah, so you have that, and then it kind of. I really like season 3. I don't know why. It just felt a bit off. Maybe it was because they like at the end of it they were like alluding to something else that obviously the show was canceled, so it never actually happened. But yeah, so it is kind of odd. I don't like the choreography scenes and the fights, except for MK's fight at the end. I'm not a big fan of those. I know they try to go for like a higher scale like war, like it was the war against Widow and Chow, and then the war against Pilgrim and the Widow, and they're trying to go for this higher scale type thing, but it always fell flat for me, because even when they have Pilgrim and the Widow going at it in like the 15th or 14th episode, and they're doing that fight where they're sieging the sanctuary, it just always felt weird, because they show him, it's supposed to be this massive army, and then they show him with like 5 or 6 people behind him, and then so many people get blown up, and then they still have like a larger force coming in, and I don't understand. And then the battle strategy doesn't make sense either. Like, why would you put a fire behind them and not just burn them themselves? Like, because they were gonna come to you in it. They're not retreating. Like, they're there to kill you and get the witch. Like, I don't know. Lydia dies in that episode, which understandable, because then it gives Moon, I guess, if they were going for a season 4, it makes sense, because then you would probably follow Moon trying to kill the witch because she gets away. But I don't understand why he didn't just throw a sword. We've seen him throw swords before. He could have just thrown a sword, but that's neither here nor there. but yeah, I think season 4 is, or sorry, season 3, probably out of the 3 seasons, is the most like philosophical, if that makes sense. Like when I started watching this, I was kind of told that there's a lot of like the political like messaging to it is like really interesting, but I think season 3 does the best job of like kind of providing that political kind of philosophy and that political messaging about like, is war justified? Like, does war actually do more harm than good? Are you trying to rebuild the system? Like, are you just, does power corrupt ultimately, or can people actually let go of power? You know, like all these different questions. And I think that season 3 does the best job of promoting that, and especially, honestly, I think it would have been a great final season. It, like, the conclusion was really well. They had built this thing to Pilgrim, and he had died, and Sunny was dying, and I think if they had killed Sunny off, and then you have like Katara, or not Katara, sorry, that's Avatar. You had Sunny's sister who was tasked with protecting both of them, and she's the only one left alive. I think it could have been really interesting. You obviously have Baji there that's going to take care of his son. So I think if they really cut the last like 5 minutes of it, and like had Tilda and the brother of Chow die, who the widow was in love with, or had the widow die and no, I think the widow living actually would have been best. But if they killed the 2 people she loved the most and then had her just raise the son on their own, I think that would have been like really like painstaking, because it sounds like Tilda's gonna live, obviously, and MK's dead. And Tilda getting stabbed is like totally unnecessary too, because we've seen many times them just kick swords, so I don't understand why she didn't just kick the sword. Like, I don't know. Anyway, but that fight with MK was really good. And you have, I think, probably my favorite character in season 3. I mean, you obviously have the top ones, like Baji is always amazing, like throughout anything, like since season 2 and 3, he's really good. You have, obviously, Sunny's our main character, and I never felt like, and I think season 3, the actor really brings it and like shows his like his faults, I guess, in the character. Which is really powerful, because like he's trying to work through this, and like he has to kill his brother who he doesn't remember, and like all these different things. And whoever was playing Pilgrim was really solid too, and like how the darkness corrupted him. But I think MK in season 3 is phenomenal. Like the actor and the character decisions they made for him, and starting out, like the first scene that you see him in, he's like addicted to opium, and he's like really down, he's really depressed because like, now this person's left him. My one thing is, like, I guess like in season 2, how Tilda just like all of a sudden turned on the widow, which was like really out of nowhere and weird. Like season 3, they kind of build it a bit better with MK. Like, I guess they've learned maybe from the mistake of like having her flip so quick, whereas like now with MK and Sunny, you kind of build it a bit more, where he from like the very first moment you see him, the widow even is like planting that seed in his mind that Sunny's left you, he doesn't consider you family, like you got to get over him, I'm the only one you have. And then once MK realizes that Sunny's the one that killed the mom, which I might say that he's seen this vision before of him like killing his mom, and or not killing, but like he thought he killed her, and everyone told him it's misleading. So I think it would have been really interesting if it's like maybe it was misleading that Sunny killed her. But I no, because that does like lead to it, and I really like how they didn't give the character kind of like a redemption type thing. Like, you saw that he obviously cared about Tilda. He didn't kill her. Well, he stabbed her, but that's because she walked in front of the blade. But you obviously see how he doesn't just like turn on Pilgrim. Like, once he's committed to Pilgrim, he's committed to him. Like, usually I feel like a lot of shows will have that commitment and that betrayal of like that person working against their former like friends who they thought were their like family, and then they'll turn at the last second and like sacrifice themselves to save the world. And it's like they didn't do that here. This time he was fighting for everything he had left, his family that he made with Pilgrim. And so yeah, I think that's a really interesting decision. I think it's the correct decision as well, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I guess overall, I highly recommend the show. I know I'm obviously leaving some stuff out. Oh, the other thing with the guns reveal, it didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, so you're telling me guns are a bigger threat than Pilgrim, who was literally turning people into Dark Ones? That, and by the way, they just killed them so easily in like every fight. Like these Dark Ones were nothing. Like before, MK was untrained too, and he also got like he would destroy Sunny in a fight or something, or get close at least. Like in this one, they were just grabbing them and slicing their throats. I'm like, okay, I guess, like sure, but it was just weird. But yeah, so I guess overall, like, the ending of it where she like tells them like you've uncovered something else, and then this like 500-year-old gun just shoots without any it's just stupid. um but yeah, so I do like where he's like between the place of life and death. The master's there. Obviously, we see the master lose to Pilgrim, which I was surprised. I honestly thought that she might defeat him and they might retreat or something. But I guess there wouldn't be the rest of the season if that happened. So it makes sense. But I was kind of surprised that he just whooped her like that. but yeah. So I think that's. I don't know. I might post another. I was gonna break this up into seasons 1, 2, and 3, and then I binge watched the show in like a week. So I was like, oh, I'll just make just one episode about the whole series. I might break down like specific things that I really enjoyed, but I think that overall, I think that's kind of where I'm gonna leave it with this series. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna do a review on like Demon Slayer. I'm gonna finish up My Hero, which I haven't read, but Demon Slayer was great. I might do an Attack on Titan one, maybe even a Malcolm X one. I'll think, because I watched Who Killed Malcolm X recently, and I really enjoyed that. So I might do something on that, but I don't know. But anyway, that's where I think I'm going to leave Into the Badlands. Overall, a really great show. The lore behind it was really great. I think they wrapped it up very well in the last season. Like, it was a series finale is what it really felt like to me. Like, everything had been fulfilled. The only thing was, like, letting the witch go, but that kind of alluded, like, oh, he's going to go do that in his own time. And then, obviously, the end where she's like, oh, I'm going to send you back. Like, it should have just been, like, come with me, like, you're gonna die type thing. But yeah, overall, really solid, and I'll talk to you guys next time.